one of the NYPD's finest, has been accused of spying for China, and it's part of a bigger problem. Welcome to China Uncensored, I'm Chris Chappell. I've been covering China for 8 years now, and yet, still, this story completely shocked me. An NYPD officer has been accused of spying on Tibetans for China. Yep, right here in New York City.
According to federal prosecutors, Angwang, since at least 2014, worked at the direction of Chinese government officials to report on the activities of ethnic Tibetans in New York and to further the goals of China in the United States.
Officer Angwang himself is ethnically Tibetan, which might sound surprising, but the Chinese Communist Party has a history of using members of a persecuted group to spy on other members of that group. But you know what is surprising about this story? How difficult it is for the media to report on China accurately. Check it out.
We begin with that breaking story. An officer accused of spying on Tibetans for the Republic of China.
For the Republic of China? The Republic of China is Taiwan. Wrong country. I think they meant the People's Republic of China. But surely that's a one-off, right?
Republic of China?
Of course not. Do you have any idea how mad the People's Republic of China will be when they find out U.S. media is giving Taiwan all the credit? But seriously, this is part of the ingenious way the Chinese Communist Party infiltrates and undermines U.S. society.
According to the criminal complaint, investigators intercepted correspondence between Angwang and a Chinese official in which Angwang allegedly said, "Let them know you have recruited one in the police department, but at least let them know, hey, you have someone in the police here. They should be happy because you have stretched your reach in the police."
If only we had defunded the police, this would never have happened. Baimadajie Angwang is a 33-year-old ethnic Tibetan and naturalized U.S. citizen. He's a former Marine, is currently in the U.S. Army Reserve, and he was even NYPD Officer of the Month in October 2018. The U.S. Justice Department says Angwang was working under the direction and control of Chinese officials at the Chinese Consulate in New York. Angwang reported on the activities of Chinese citizens in the New York area, spotted and assessed potential intelligence sources within the Tibetan community in New York and elsewhere, and provided PRC officials with access to senior NYPD officials through invitations to official events. And one of the Chinese officials Angwang communicated with has ties to known United Front groups. The United Front? That's pretty scary. United Front work serves to promote Beijing's preferred global narrative, pressure individuals living in free and open societies to self-censor and avoid discussing issues unfavorable to the CCP, and harass or undermine groups critical of Beijing's policies. And according to Dorji Tsetin, Executive Director of Students for a Free Tibet, this should be a wake-up call for all our leaders at the federal, state, and local levels about the alarming depth and reach of China's espionage operations, because you end up with awkward situations like a Chinese spy being photographed next to a U.S. Congresswoman at a Tibetan community Lunar New Year event. Yeah, that's Angwang next to Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Just so you know, AOC's office said she had no interaction beyond that photo. And I'm not accusing AOC of anything. I'm just pointing out that the Chinese Communist Party was able to get one of its alleged agents right next to an influential congresswoman. The FBI has been investigating Angwang for years. For example, in the criminal complaint, there are transcripts of Angwang's conversations with his Chinese handler dating back to 2018. From what's been publicly released so far, it's unclear if Angwang was paid specifically for his intelligence info, though apparently some of the recorded conversations between him and his handler suggested there may have been payments made. But investigators have uncovered financial ties between Angwang and China. In January 2014, Angwang received two separate payments of $50,000 and $20,000 from an account at the Bank of China in New York. In April 2016, Angwang wired $100,000 from a U.S. bank account to a bank account in China held by his brother. Angwang wired an additional $50,000 a month later to another Chinese account held by an unnamed individual. Also, in May 2016, his brother wired Angwang nearly $50,000. And it turns out, according to prosecutors, his family has extensive ties to the Chinese Communist Party and its military, the People's Liberation Army. His father is retired from the PLA. His brother is currently a PLA reservist, and his mother is a retired Chinese government official. All three live in China, which is really interesting considering this.
Federal prosecutors say they also believe that Angwang lied on a background check. They say that he said that he was seeking asylum here in the United States because as a native Tibetan, he had been tortured in China and could no longer return to his home, although federal prosecutors say that he returned to China several times on his own free will.
Yes, after receiving asylum in the U.S., he freely went back and forth to China. Big red flag there. Now, in addition to being charged for acting as an illegal agent of China, Angwang is also accused of wire fraud, making false statements, and obstructing an official proceeding. If convicted of all the charges, he faces 55 years in prison. But at least it's better than being sent to prison in China or being sent to regular Tibet. And now it's time for me to answer a question from a fan who supports China Uncensored on the crowdfunding website Patreon. Logan asks, I enjoy the ad breaks, but shouldn't there be ads? Or is this just a meta joke on demonetization? It wasn't supposed to be, but it kind of turned into that. Logan is talking about the recent ad breaks we've been trying to plan into our scripts. Instead of just a YouTube ad randomly appearing in the middle of an episode, we plan in the break. But since YouTube doesn't always monetize our videos, that ad break sometimes ends up looking like this. I'll have more after this break. Welcome back. That's just an example. I didn't actually put an ad there this time. But that's how we've been doing it. Only sometimes that short break is just the screen going black for a second when YouTube doesn't run ads on our video. Which is, of course, why your support on Patreon is so important. YouTube demonetizes a lot of our videos, and even when they don't, ads haven't been pulling in a lot of money during COVID, because fewer companies are advertising. And that's why you wouldn't be watching this show right now if it weren't for people like you signing up to support the show on Patreon. So, thank you for your support, Logan. If you want to be like Logan, head over to patreon.com/China Uncensored. All it takes is $1 or $2 an episode. You can even set a monthly limit if you'd like, so you won't be charged more than you want. And you'll get some other cool perks too. And if you can't support the show on Patreon, you can always support us by liking each episode, making sure YouTube hasn't unsubscribed you secretly, and sharing the show with your friends and family. Once again, I'm Chris Chappell. See you next time.